Change is in the air for the St. Louis business community. A new organization called Greater St. Louis, Inc. merges together 5 civic organizations. The new group is laser-focused on economic growth and bringing new jobs to the St. Louis region. It's being called a switchboard to making things happen in St. Louis. What has already happened after 5 months of public feedback is the release of a 2030 jobs plan that emphasizes inclusive growth. Greater St. Louis, Inc. has a bold agenda designed to make the region globally competitive while shoring up local business districts. Jason Hall is the CEO of Greater St. Louis, Inc. This Granite City native represents a new generation of civic leaders. He's been called intense and has an unbridled enthusiasm for the future of St. Louis. In his words, this is St. Louis's decade. I spoke to Jason about Greater St. Louis, Inc., his goals for the region, and how the organization will achieve them. And now, a conversation with Jason Hall. Jason, thanks so much for taking time out of your very busy day to explain Greater St. Louis, Inc. for us. It's been in the news a lot lately, but I'm not sure how many people really understand the purpose and what it's going to do for them. So if you wouldn't mind, take a look over my shoulder at the 3 million people on the other side of that camera and give them your elevator pitch. What is Greater St. Louis, Inc.?
Sure. Greater St. Louis, Inc. is about creating more economic opportunities, more jobs for all of our residents here in St. Louis. We need to grow. We need to make sure that that growth and those opportunities are within reach of all of our residents. And so Greater St. Louis, Inc. represents the business community coming together to help guide that so we can reach our full potential here in St. Louis. Not so much what we're doing for the community, but what we're doing with the community as a business sector. We have a critical role to play. And business leaders, they know how to create jobs, they know how to think long term, spot emerging trends, but there are a set of challenges when you're trying to take a place, a metropolitan region, and move in a common direction to create those jobs and make sure they happen here, not in other places. You have to work together. That is a problem and an opportunity that's bigger than any one single business. Greater St. Louis, Inc. brings all of that collective ambition, all that we want to achieve, together so that we can work together to go to where we need to be for St. Louis, for the next generation, and for the next set of opportunities.
It sounds like a very logical idea. How did this concept get born?
Well, I'll tell you, in St. Louis, we know we've got a lot of, our best days are ahead of us. We have tremendous assets in this metro. And I think there's been this coming together, a more collaborative spirit that has been brewing over the last years. And we saw some success that we were enjoying because we were collaborating with each other, not worried about competing with our own residents. And I think we saw that that is more fun. We can achieve more collectively, and we wanted to make that more formal. And as COVID onset, and we really had to double down together in a collaborative way to respond to this pandemic as a community, we said, this is what the future looks like. And really, we went out and started looking around at other really fast-growing communities around this country, and that's how they're organized too. You create a civic institution that brings everybody together to work together, a switchboard of making things happen in the community. And so that is best in class. And so by bringing the strengths of 5 different organizations that was spread out across 5 different groups trying to work together on this from the private sector side, come together with one voice, one agenda, one set of our residents coming together to move in a common direction. And that is the model, and that's what St. Louis is now doing.
You make it sound easy, but I know it wasn't, to bring all 5 organizations together. Who are the leaders, the drivers behind this?
Yeah, well, a lot of the staff of the existing organizations really had the idea, because we saw how it was playing out and how it allowed us to be more effective. And we took it to our board chairs and to the boards of these organizations. Certainly our founding chairperson, Andy Taylor, an extraordinary business leader, an extraordinary civic leader for St. Louis. This is his home, And his peers asked him to take this on, and he did. And I think, Andy is a uniquely unifying, visionary, collaborative, selfless force for St. Louis. And I think we are so privileged to have him take this on as our founding chairman. So a critically important leader. But the boards of the organizations, which represent some of the most active, engaged business and civic leaders throughout our metro, they voted unanimously to move in this direction. And that's hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, an incredible group. We found an amazing group that was serving on our integration team that included leaders from the startup community, Alex Hyman from Less Annoying CRM, and terrific leaders like Laura Kaiser from SSM Health, Michelle Tucker from the United Way. All segments of the business community helped guide us and make this happen.
Well, you get somebody like Andy Taylor out in front, that's going to bring a who's who of everybody who's anybody.
Yeah, he's just, again, a terrific unifying force for the business community who's so engaged personally. And I think he has a high degree of trust and confidence in this community, rightfully so, an exceptional leader to help guide us through this. But as Andy always says, it takes all of us working together to make this happen, and that's how we proceed.
Not only takes people, it takes money. How are you paying for all of this?
So we're a private sector organization of businesses. So businesses sign up to become involved because they care about this mission of moving St. Louis forward, growing our economy, inclusive economic growth for all of our residents. And you can become a dues-paying member, if you will, invest in that mission. And the response from the business community thus far has been terrific. People said, now I see it's exciting. It's a new vision for where the economy can go. And so we've had people reaching out to us faster than we can get to them to say, we want to put not only our financial resources, what's really struck me is people say, I want to put my time behind this. And that's even more special when you can get all of that. People taking ownership, long-term stewardship, not just being an employer in the community, but being a volunteer in the community, being a part of the community, that is powerful. And I think that's an incredible force.
As human beings, we all want to know what's in it for me. So what's in it for the average St. Louisan? Why should they care?
I think of my own family. My mom is a small business owner, a pet groomer. My dad, for 40 years, worked at Granite City Steel as a steel worker. At the end of the day, they were trying to take care of us and give their kids a better life. And I think that's what most parents do. And they need access to jobs and high quality jobs. That's what makes a difference. And so what Greater St. Louis Inc. is doing is the work sometimes behind the scenes to go find businesses that are expanding, help improve the quality of life. We're fighting right now so that Medicaid, that the voters approved in this state, to expand it so that more people that are working but can't afford health care have access to it. It makes their life better. Someone has to take that on, and we can't do that individually. We do that collectively, and it is about more jobs and opportunity. So if I'm the average citizen, and I don't think there's any average citizen in this community, I think we're all exceptional people in St. Louis, it's about bringing more to them, more jobs, more opportunities, and a better quality of life.
Now, in reading the GSL materials, I see that diversity, equity, and inclusion are a huge focus of what your plans are.
Yes.
Would you explain the importance of that?
I think we've realized, particularly over the last 12 months in this country, we have a lot of work to do to live up to the promise that all of our residents have access to opportunities and the freedom to live. So you're seeing this incredible convergence of diversity, equity, and inclusion so that we're removing barriers that some of our residents face every day, oftentimes because of systemic racism, that they have access to opportunities as well. And so when we think about job creation, how does that play out? It's making sure that areas of our own community, many neighborhoods in North City, St. Louis that have been disinvested, or that residents that have not had access to job opportunities, career upskilling, new training, that we act with intention to make sure that they are included and have access to the opportunities and that they benefit as well. And that's some of the ways we see that playing out in the planning that we're doing and the actions that we're taking. You know, take for example, we were just talking about Medicaid expansion. That is one of the original calls to action from the Ferguson Commission report. One of the things that we said we have to do as a policy matter to help alleviate the effects of racism and barriers to residents reaching their full potential. We're down in Jefferson City right now fighting to remove that barrier. And that's why you have to have an organization like Greater St. Louis, Inc.
You can't move a community forward if some of the community is left behind.
That's absolutely right. We will never reach our full potential unless all of our residents can reach their full potential. And we can't move forward and leave others behind. That is just, we cannot move forward any other way. We have to recognize that. We have to act with intention around it. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Now, you obviously have the business sector really coalesced around this.
Yeah.
But often the business sector tries to move forward and runs into the political sector.
Yeah.
How do you get the two of them playing the same game?
I mean, you're absolutely right. When I have visited high growth communities around this country, there's always going to be a little bit of tension between the public and private sector. They may have differences of opinion, but where you can work those out in productive ways and align that you want to go in a direction. Oftentimes our goals are the same, which is helping the community grow, create more opportunities. But it takes dialogue. And I'll tell you, in my first few days taking on this job, I reached out to all 15 of the principal elected officials in our 15 county bi-state metro. Many of them telling me the business community hasn't reached out to me before. So we can't move forward and say we want to work in partnership with the public sector if we aren't even talking. And I think that's a lesson we need for many areas of St. Louis so that we can truly act regionally and move forward. We're also in our state capitals, meeting our policymakers, talking with them. Again, dialogue and understanding, talking. We don't need to overthink this, is really critical to finding that common ground.
Dialogue them into your section of the corner and make sure that they're on the same playbook.
I think of it more as a partnership, and everybody's got to give a little bit of give and take because we see things through different perspectives. The business community has the luxury of being often able to think very long term. Public sector officials face elections, and we have to recognize that's a very real constraint for them, and so they might think in an election cycle term. But the power of bringing those forces together to learn from each other, where do we find agreement? Where do we find common ground? At times that's going to be tense, as we're finding right now over Medicaid expansion. But I'm telling you, you get on the phone, don't throw up a grenade on Twitter. Why don't you call them? Find out, maybe we're closer than we think. Find that common ground. I just think that's the way forward.
Now, for all those viewers out there who say, this is a movie I've seen before. I've seen other great visionary plans come out that didn't ever go anywhere. Why is GSL going to succeed where the others haven't?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'm inspired. I mean, personally, when I got involved in public service, left the practice of law, I was inspired by the work I had seen civically by leaders like the late Dr. Bill Danforth and John McDonnell. And when I saw what they did to help invigorate this biotech movement that's brought so many quality jobs to our community, make us a global leader in ag tech. You know, the national news was just reporting the first vaccine in this country to get us through this COVID-19 was from Pfizer. And every one of those Pfizer vaccines goes right through Chesterfield, Missouri, right here in St. Louis. It's because we're global leaders in biotech. That's what we're capable of. But the leaders that help make that a community priority, they got things done. They brought the community together. So I see what can get done, how you need to act with humility and listening, ambition, and getting up every day to make this happen. That's how we're going to move forward. And I see what has been successful.
In the 2030 jobs report, you mentioned several times St. Louis's resilience. We have bounced back before. Is that a large part of your hope for success?
We have to be. I mean, resilient communities, we're going to face all sorts of challenges. And it's the communities that get ahead and grow, that learn how to tackle those and get stronger. You know, people forget oftentimes St. Louis faced a challenge. The city of St. Louis, for example, our flagship city of the metro, and the metro is only as strong as the city. I think I've been hearing a lot of that in the dialogue around the 2030 jobs plan. A 63% population collapse from our peak population. That is the largest percentage population collapse of any major city in modern North American history. That's a lot to work out of. And the fact that we are standing here going into this pandemic, over $8 billion of new reinvestment in the core of this city is exceptional. That we have world-class healthcare in this city, great universities in this city, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency building a $2 billion headquarters in North City, St. Louis to be global leaders in this new technology area of geospatial. It's because we're resilient. We've come back. We didn't let those things defeat us, and we have been committed to being a growth community where all of our residents can reach their full potential.
Who are our biggest competitors, the cities we're fighting against?
Oh, it's a global marketplace now. I mean, it truly is. I'll tell you, but narrowing it, right here in the Midwest, where I went to law school, in Nashville, Tennessee, they are organized, they are focused, they are getting things done, and they are growing. Indianapolis, another city in the Midwest, growing. I mean, they have really got their act together and a vision for where they want to go as a community. Denver, I mean, it's been a real tremendous success story. People forget, you know, in the energy bust of the 80s, what Denver was like, but because they were resilient, they fought back. It's one of the, fastest growing communities in this country, and a great place for technology jobs and families. It's because they're resilient, and we are as well.
So you're saying don't be intimidated by competition,
No.
learn from it.
Learn from it and realize we've got, often cases, more assets, but what we're not doing is an effective job of is leaning into those collectively and really unleashing their full potential and value. The industry sectors, the universities, the neighborhoods, the quality of our cultural institutions, bringing that together and really recognizing the value we have and just run for the fences as St. Louis, not worrying about what's behind us, but where we can go. And that is an attitudinal shift that we as St. Louisans need to recognize, that our best days weren't behind us. And it's really hard when you were the fourth largest city in the country at one point. That is tough because we're always compared to that standard. But let's look ahead and be that city again, because we still have the assets we need and we can grow.
1904 wasn't a finish line, it was a starting line.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And we can be even better than that.
Now, you're the president and CEO of Greater St. Louis Inc. You're also the personification of it. People don't relate to organizations, they relate to other people.
Yeah.
So you're the personal face of GSL. Who is Jason Hall?
Yeah, well, I'm a St. Louisan by birth and a St. Louisan by choice. I grew up in the Metro East, Granite City, Illinois, where my family all still resides. The son of a small business owner, a steel worker, and one of the first in my family to have the privilege of graduating from high school and college and to be given tremendous opportunities. And I think because of that, I chose to come back home because I love this community deeply. I know its best days are ahead, and so much was given to me. I want to give that back so that more kids like me have access to those same opportunities. And so I'm all in. I love it. It's given so much. I want that to be preserved for the next generation and to be stronger in the days ahead and play my part.
I think you just answered my next question. I was reading an article about you. Let me make sure I got it right here. It says he has relentless focus, unflinching ambition for St. Louis.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
That's completely accurate. I mean, I see it. I feel it. You know, the beauty of this job, you get to meet so many people, hear their stories, their hopes, their ambitions. I mean, the 2030 jobs plan, thousands of people showed up. And we were on one Zoom, over 500 people showed up voluntarily because they care what we're talking about and they care about St. Louis growing. That's practically a gala in this town with 500 people. And I'll tell you, it just inspires me when I get to hear what people want to achieve, what they want for themselves, what they want for their children, and the love they have for St. Louis. And I feel this duty and obligation to make sure we honor that by doing the things we need to do as an institution to help grow this economy.
I was going to ask you about that. This is a tough gig. It's a lot of work and a lot of thankless work, long hours.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to take it on?
I'll tell you, I like a challenge. My life was a challenge. And I just, inspired by those that came before me, that I recognize left our community stronger. I talked about Dr. Danforth. I mean, just tremendous human being. So that's why I jumped all in. I think the thing, training as a lawyer and coming out of Bryan Cave, you learn how to work hard as well and long hours, so not a stranger to that. And so I also think it's been said, when you truly love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I'm down here oftentimes 7 days a week, but it doesn't just always feel like work to me. It's hard, it's difficult, it's challenging, but I know that if we do this, this is our time, this is our decade, this is where St. Louis breaks out. The time is now, and we're going to make those sacrifices that we need to so that the community can move forward. And I feel as the CEO, I got to lead by example. If I'm not, I can't expect anyone else to be.
For you and GSL, what is success going to look like?
Success as this community is growing again. We got more jobs, bigger population. We've started to reduce those unacceptable racial inequities and the gaps that exist in this community. We're not going to solve those overnight, all of those challenges. But if we see that we're moving in the right direction, that's going to be success. And when people realize that our full potential and our best days are in front of us, and we are talking with that kind of optimism just more naturally in this community because we feel it, that's when we're being successful.
Do you have a timeline for that success? When is it going to be, you go, oh, there it is, I got it?
No, I think these things come with moments in time because the people in the communities that have been most successful in this kind of civic work, they take the long view. And I think the humility that we serve a role in a period of time, and at some point this will be handed off to the next generation. But you got to act with urgency in the short run. So the jobs plan, for example, we said, let's look at this over a decade. You know, that's long enough to matter and to move the needle, but short enough we can get our arms wrapped around that. And that's how we're thinking about these major trends, these new jobs from new industries and the other ideas that have been laid out in that. Let's do that over the next decade. And that's really what high-performing communities around the country have done, typically look in decades. And then you're reevaluating every day.
You touched on it briefly, but I want to ask the question anyway. You think in the future people are going to look back at GSL and say, that's it. That's when the St. Louis Renaissance began? Yeah,
it's a great question. I hope that the community sees it as being a part of it, but really, I hope the genesis of that was really GSL represented something different to them, and that was, you know what? We really are committed to the future of St. Louis, and that because I want people to take action, be inspired by what we're doing, and as I've said with the jobs plan, don't ask GSL what it can do for you, but what can you do to make this jobs plan a reality? And when we're taking that collective ownership, but I hope people see this as a moment that it was an inflection, that it was an historic merger of 5 organizations, counter-narrative to St. Louis, defragmenting, coming together, speaking with ambition, confronting our realities, tough realities, racism that we need to solve for as we're moving forward to be a growing community. I hope people say, that was a really important moment in time and we seized it.
We began with you looking directly in the eye of the people out there and telling them what GSL is.
Yeah.
I ask you to do that again and tell them how they can become involved in making this a success.
I appreciate it. Well, again, GSL is helping bring us together to to create a vision for where we can go economically and make it happen. At the end of the day, we're powered by the people of this community. This is a vessel. We got to all fill it with life. And so there's a couple of things people can do. If you're involved with a business, sign up and become a member. Go to greaterstlouisinc.com and join this movement. If you're not, but you want to stay informed because you find it interesting and you want to know where the community is going and see opportunities as they arise, sign up for the newsletter. We love to share what's happening and how people can get involved. There's other ways. We're trying to do a much better job of telling our story of St. Louis, who we are, what we stand for. And we're doing that through a movement called STL Made. And so if you're out, everyone often has a smartphone and access to social media. Talk about what you're proud of in this community. Hashtag STL Made and unite that point of pride with the others around this community. Collectively, we can all be ambassadors for this place. And in fact, we won't be successful unless we are. So those are just some of the ways people can start to get engaged in this movement. And if you've got ideas, you traveled, you saw something in another community, or you've often wondered, why hasn't St. Louis done this? We've got ideas at greaterstlinc.com as an email address. Send in your ideas. I read these emails, and I love hearing from what people see and things they bring forward. It might connect to an idea that somebody else emailed me about. And that really helps this team get better every day because it brings more eyes and ears to the work and will make us stronger.
So this, it sounds like, is a very team effort.
Yes.
This is not a top-down, it is all of us together.
Yeah, I think that's been a big shift. I tell people, you know, I don't always know what happened in the past, but we need to be aware of it. But the business community is a stakeholder in the community. We're one of the gears, if you will, that move us forward. But that's where it gets back to not what we can do for the community, but with the community. So we have to recognize we have to collaborate, talk, learn, and listen from many other stakeholder groups, and recognize that if we're going to move forward, it is going to be the gears working together, and it can't be top down, it can't be one group, it can't be one constituency. And that's the approach we're going to have to take. That's a very different approach, I think, than has been taken maybe in the past. But that's where we're going, and it's the only sustainable way we can do this.
So it's time to roll up your sleeves and get in and be part of the solution.
That's right. I mean, we've got to get to work, and it takes all of us. There's a lot of ways people can get involved. I talked about a few of them. Stay in touch with us. We are 3 months into this new effort, and we got a lot to do, and it's only going to get bigger and better every day. So I encourage your viewership to stay with us.
Jason, thank you so much for taking your time. You're an amazing spokesperson for St. Louis, and I love the quote that you have an unlimited ambition for St. Louis. We need that kind of positive thinking.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having us. And
sign me up, I'm all in.
We appreciate it. Thank you.